Welcome back to Joyfully at Home. We're getting a little bit closer to St. Patrick's Day now, and in our household, we always like to have corned beef Reubens for St. Patrick's Day. It's kind of a tradition that we do. And so today we're going to go ahead and we're going to make the rye bread that I always use for our corned beef Reubens. I'm going to show you just how easy it is to make your own fresh rye bread at home. It's not a hard recipe. The most difficult part of it is getting your hands on rye flour sometimes. Some stores carry it, some don't, but you can always order a really good rye flour from Amazon. So it's available at any point that you decide to make your own rye bread. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to show you the process for making your nice, fresh rye bread today. To start off our rye bread, we're going to do it the same kind of way that I always do with, if you know your yeast is fresh, and I show you this also in my bread course that is available now as well. You don't need to proof your yeast if you know it's fresh yeast. The way we layer our ingredients, it's not necessary. So you're going to start off with a cup and a half of warm water, about 110 degrees is just fine. You're going to want a teaspoon of salt, and you're going to want a tablespoon of oil. Now you can use anything you have. Olive oil is fine. Vegetable oil is also fine. So you've got that in there. And now from here, we're going to add 3 cups of all-purpose flour. Just regular all-purpose flour. You can use bread flour if you have it, but it's not necessary for this. The next flour you're going to actually add is rye flour, and you're going to see your rye flour has a little bit more of a darker color to it, but this is your rye flour, and that's what's going to give your bread that wonderful rye flavor. So now that you have both flours in there on top of your other liquid mixture, to the side you're going to go ahead and put in 2 tablespoons of molasses. And I'm going to hold this way just so you can see the molasses a little bit better. And just go ahead and put that into the side of your flour. That gives your bread a little bit more depth and richness. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to create a little well, put in a tablespoon of sugar, and in that same well you're going to put in a tablespoon and a half, because you are working with rye flour, which has a little less gluten in it. It's a little more of a dark flour, so whole grain type of flour. So you're going to put a little bit more yeast in it to give it a little bit more body. You put that in that little well, and then you turn your mixer on. It'll mix it all up into a nice dough. So now that we've got our dough partially mixed, we're going to take 3 tablespoons of caraway seeds and just dump them right in there, and then we're going to continue to mix. If you need to scrape down the sides of your bowl, this is a good time to do that. And we're just going to go ahead and continue to mix until we have a nice cohesive dough and get those caraway seeds mixed in. So now that your dough is completely mixed well, and you can see it's a nice, smooth, stretchy dough, we'll just go ahead and give it a little spray of an oil spray. Make sure you go ahead and roll that around in your bowl a couple of times so your dough is got a little bit of oil spray on it. And then we'll cover this with a tea towel, put it in a warm place for about an hour, at least depending on how warm your area is. You're going to want to let this at least double in size, and then we can go ahead and make our rye loaf. Now that our dough is risen, you can see I just started punching this down, and you can see all the air that's coming out of this. Your dough is easily risen twice. We're going to go ahead and just use a spatula or a scraper, turn it out onto your counter. You can have a little bit of flour on your counter if you like. You don't have to have a lot. It's not completely necessary with this style bread because it's not super sticky. But we are going to go ahead and just get this all completely punched down so we have it all ready to work with. And we're going to make a round rye today. We like to use a round rye lots of times for St. Patrick's Day because it makes a longer piece of bread for your Reubens, a little more deli-like. You can take this same dough and you can go ahead and you can put it in a greased bread pan, 9x5. It works just as well to make like rye sandwich loaf. You can do that with it, or you can make round, and you can even use it for when you make bread dip at the holiday season. These things can come from this same bread recipe. So we're going to go ahead, give this a little knead, a little back and forth, and start making a nice round loaf here. And just keep turning it and keep tucking. And just like that, we have a very nice round loaf. What we're going to do is we're going to, again, cover this with a tea towel and let it get a nice puff on it, let it rise a little bit, and then we'll pop it in the oven. Okay, now that our round rye is nicely risen, you can see it's got a nice rise to it. It has a little bit of give. We're going to go ahead and put it in a 425-degree oven, and we're going to let it bake for approximately 30 to 35 minutes, depending on your oven, and it will come out perfectly browned and a nice rye loaf that you can use for any purpose that you like.